Sat Sri Akal, welcome to People's People with Opinder Randhawa. Some people say they haven't yet found themselves. And they say, well, it's very hard to find themselves. But it's not up to you to find yourself. It's up to you to create yourself, to inspire yourself, to make yourself. Today in the studio, I've got a great gentleman, a great personality, a self-made man who's actually made himself. He's a great inspiration. He's absolutely fantastic and brilliant. He's Mike Tyson's sparring partner, the toughest white man on the planet. It's Big Joe Egan, the Irish boxing champion. He's here in the studio with me. Let's welcome Joe Egan. Welcome on the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Upinder. That particular title, Mike Tyson gave me the toughest white man on the planet. We were sparring one day and there was 4 white sparring partners, which was unusual because normally there would be a couple of black guys. But this particular day there was just 4 white sparring partners. He knocked 3 of them out. I was number 4. I got battered from pillar to post, but he never put me down. At the end of the sparring session, Mike said, Joe Egan is the toughest white man on the planet. Far from it. I was the toughest white man in the gym that day. But it's a nice compliment from Mike.
And it's a great one as well.
Hard-earned one.
Exactly, hard-earned one, coming from a world champion himself.
Probably the greatest puncher of my era anyway.
Fantastic one. Now, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
Raised in Ireland and had a boxing background. I started boxing when I was 10, had my first fight at 11. I fought Steve Collins, who went on to win 2 world titles. And it was a great honour to share the ring with him. I actually fought Steve twice. And I won 7 Irish boxing titles, a junior title, 2 under-19 titles, and 4 senior boxing titles. I boxed for Ireland on a number of occasions, which was a great honour to represent your country and to hear the national anthem played when you're actually standing in the boxing ring.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
And I won a bronze medal in the World Amateur Championships. And that was a great achievement as well.
Now, as the eldest son out of the 7 in your family, were you driven to set an example with your career?
Well, the thing is, people say about my fighting background, they said, how come you became such a good fighter? Because I got bullied as a child. When my dad worked on the building sites over in England, we came over to England as a family, and me being the eldest of 7, I had to watch out for my younger brothers and sisters. I got 4 younger sisters and 2 younger brothers. And we came to this country, and I got bullied because I had the Irish accent. And all my years boxing, I only ever had 1 tooth knocked out. I got 2 teeth knocked out by the schoolyard bullies. So I picked up the English accent when I was a child living in this country. And then when we went home to Dublin, I got bullied in Dublin because I had the English accent. So the only option I had was to learn how to fight and to look after myself and also look after my younger brothers and sisters. So boxing was the choice. My dad had us, encouraged us to do a lot of sports, keep us off the streets. We did judo, I did athletics, I did the shot put and the discus, and the boxing was the one that I wanted to do the most because I wanted to stand up against the bullies and I wanted to learn how to fight and look after myself and also my younger brothers and sisters.
So, were there any other paths that you wanted to follow, or it was just always boxing, or only boxing because of that incident as you've just told us?
Well, I wasn't really very academic in school. The opportunities were there. My dad encouraged us to study and to go to school, but I wasn't very good in school. And the only thing I really found that I was good at was boxing.
Fighting?
Fighting, yeah, but not on the street. Actually in a controlled environment, in a boxing ring, an honourable way of fighting. Modern day gladiators. That's what boxers are, modern day gladiators. And I found that I was good at that. There was men making a living for fighting, there was professional fighters, and I thought, well, I could pursue a career in that. And after winning the Irish titles and boxing for Ireland, I did eventually go professional, and I signed professional papers with Barney Eastwood. But I never really made it as a professional fighter. I made a lot of money as a professional sparring partner. I sparred with a lot of great fighters. You actually get paid to spar, which is it's like a training session boxing, getting the fighters ready for their big fights. And you wear headgear and big gloves. You can still get hurt. I've seen sparring sessions better than fights. But there is a good living to be made.
You've been a sparring partner for with Mike Tyson.
I was Mike's sparring partner for nearly 2 years.
Right.
Had a lot of painful times. Like, he hurt me so many times. He made me cry so many times. And not ashamed to say that I cried. You know, he did hurt me on a number of occasions. But I earned good money with him. And I've made a great friend. We've been friends now 28 years. And I'm very proud to call him my friend. Most fighters, the first thing that boxing does, I think personally, boxing gives you first and foremost self-respect. And then it gives you respect for another person. And that's a very important word, respect. You know, and it's an earned respect. And fighters, the friendship that they made, the friendships that boxers can make, you know, stand the test of time. There's guys I fought that I was best man at one of their weddings. A guy called Cathal Ryan. He was the head doorman in the nightclub where I was doing security on. And he won his way to the Irish title final, and I won my way to the Irish title final. And we boxed each other in the final. And we hammered each other, bashed each other, and then went to work on the door of the nightclub. And people were coming into the club, we were black and blue, all bruised. And people coming in like, oh my God, there must have been a big row tonight. We were after boxing each other. And then I went on, I was the best man at his wedding. And you just have a friendship that stands the test of time. And a lot of fighters, people that don't understand the sport, say, how can these men punch each other and then embrace each other at the end of the fight and be friends afterwards? And that's the great thing about the sport.
Now, obviously, you were very successful at a young age, right? Now, how did this success affect you in such a young age?
It didn't affect me in a negative way. It affected me in a positive way because it gave me confidence. Because if you've got the confidence to climb into a boxing ring and fight, you can have the confidence to do anything. So I would encourage any young man to box, and even now young women are boxing, because it gives you a confidence. And if you can stare an opponent in the eye and then fight each other, you can stare anybody. You can confront anything. And that's what boxing did for me. It gave me the confidence.
Now, when it comes to obviously media, media as such obviously plays a big role when it comes to boxing, cricket, any other sport out there as well. How do you think, or how do you feel that media has basically portrayed your career or your image out there in the public?
I think the media has been very fair to me. You know, I pride myself on my manners. You know, I don't take liberties or abuse anybody. And I've got the same friends I've had since I've been a little boy, and I've been portrayed that way in the media, in newspaper, radio, and TV. I've always had a good rapport with the media. And even when my book was published, Cass Pennant, who published my book, Pennant Publications, he said that there's a lot of lovely things being written about me. I said, well, I don't do anybody any wrong. I don't start the day with bad intentions. I start the day with good intentions, and I try to do good. And the media has been very fair to me. They've written and they've said nice things.
Now, you just actually mentioned the book. Just would like to say that there is a book out there as well. Absolutely fantastic and brilliant book. It's about Joe Egan's life. It's about boxing. It's about passion. You will know a lot about the likes of Mike Tyson and all the big names out there as well. Absolutely brilliant and fantastic one, Joe.
Thank you.
Right. Tell us a little bit about your book.
It's an autobiography, really about my whole life. There's a lot about Mike Tyson, and obviously because he launched the book. Mike launched the book in Canary Wharf in December 2005, and the first edition of the book sold very well. And then they re-released it in 2006, November 2006, with 2 new chapters and 16 new pages of photographs. The two new chapters, one about the official launch, and then the second about Mike Tyson visiting Ireland to visit my mum, because after the book was launched, my mother took very sick. She had a lump removed. Excuse me. She had a lump removed from her throat, and we were very concerned with her being a smoker that it was cancer. But blessings of God, it wasn't. And Mike said to me one day, because he used to speak to my mother on the phone. He'd been speaking to my mother on and off on the phone for 22 years. He'd actually never met her. On this particular day, he'd asked, how's my mum doing? And I said, she's not too well, Mike. He said, well, let's go and visit her. And it was a great boost for my mother that Mike Tyson took the time out of his busy schedule to visit a sick woman. And it was very proud for me to walk through Dublin Airport with Mike Tyson and to bring him to visit my mum. And he's a fantastic guy, and he gave my mother a great boost. And like I say, blessings of God, it wasn't cancer. It was bad. It was a lump, but in blessings of God, it wasn't a cancer. And that's one of the new chapters. Mike visiting Ireland, visiting my mum. And then the second edition of the book, that sold very well as well. And they're talking about turning the book into a film, which will be amazing. You know, I just hope they get somebody good looking to play me.
So if, say for example, if any of the youngsters out there as well, they wish to know more about yourself, about Mike Tyson, you know, about the boxing, about his career and everything, obviously I do strongly recommend to please do read this book. It's absolutely amazing and brilliant as well. Now, where do they get hold of this book? I mean, is it available throughout on the websites as well?
Good bookshops, they probably don't have it on the shelves now because it's been out for so many years. But they'd order it in. It's still available. Amazon, you can get it off the Amazon, the websites. And if anybody gets a chance to visit my website, www.bigjoeegan.com. It's a good website.
It is.
It is, yeah.
It is. A lot about you, all the articles, the newspapers, you know, I was actually going through the website just a couple of days back as well. And I must say a lot of information about, I mean, if anybody wishes to know Joe Egan better, please do visit that website. And I think it's just like the proper image of yourself.
The guy that does my website is a friend of mine, Robert Carr. And
that's why, because he knows you
he's my friend. And there's great photographs on there because when I meet all these different stars, and it's great for me, you know, because I love getting my photographs with these stars because a picture speaks 1,000 words. I'm not really sort of interested in the autograph. I'm more interested in getting a photograph. So I approach all these different stars, and when you meet them, and then some of them know you, because they know, everybody knows Mike Tyson, and with me being his former sparring partner, I'm associated with Mike, and when they say Joe Egan, and you're sort of humbled when these stars know you, and then you get to photograph with them. It's amazing. And then so on my website there's a lot of photographs of me with all these different stars, because my friends all over the world, I want them to see that I've met all these people. You know, I've met royalty, I've met presidents, I've met film stars, I've met sports stars, and I never get tired of meeting these people and shaking their hand and having a photograph with them. So my website is full of photographs.
Now, I am going to come on to the films as well, but before that, tell us about your comeback at the age of 38.
I unfortunately got into a little bit of trouble. I'd never been in trouble in my life before. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I've never took drugs, I don't gamble. And I've always worked hard in the boxing, and when I wasn't boxing, I've worked hard. I've always had a good work ethic. And I'd never been in trouble before. But I had a breakdown in a relationship, and after a lot of years. And my ex-fiancée, she cleared off with that Irish dancer, Michael Flatley. And it was all over the world news. It was a big thing. And I was fighting legal battles at the time with the brewery. I was in a pub that protection racketeers had demanded money, and I stood my ground. Racist National Front organisation. People make the mistake thinking that these National Front just don't like Asian people or black people. They don't particularly like Irish people either. And my pub was targeted. I stood my ground with my patrons at my pub, and we fought. The 26th of July 1998, I took a gunshot wound from my troubles, and I had a court battle trying to hold on to my premises because the brewery tried to evict me at the time because they said I wasn't a proper landlord. And I was fighting that battle. Then my ex-fiancée had a court battle with her, fighting, trying to hold on to my house. And I was fighting on all fronts. I was charged with attempted murder because I'd stood my ground and fought. And I was running out of funds. I hadn't got the money to fight all these legal battles. And unfortunately, I got involved with crime. Because what was being done to me was a crime. I'm not trying to make out what I did was right. It was wrong what I did. But at the time, it was my only option. And I regret it. I got captured. I got involved with stolen cars. And I ended up in prison.